That's right, I see the chat. I see y'all rocking, I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like button, show your love, show your support, you know what I'm saying? This that dope soul, this that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knicks family. Welcome to the Knicks Recap and Reaction Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, and as always, we have a lot to talk about. I was tight last night when I went to bed. I woke up tight. I am not in a good mood this morning. Um, I don't really have a lot to say. I think my take is really short. I don't want to. Well, first of all, Jeff, how are you?
Well, I've been better. It was not good last night. I was it was a very strange game last night. I don't very strange game, but we'll get into it.
We will definitely get into it. I'll say this. I don't want to hear anything about the officiating this morning. I don't want to hear anything about Tom Thibodeau this morning. When the Knicks won game 3 and 4, it was all about the players and how they performed and how mentally tough they were and how they took Detroit out the game with the good start. And today we want to talk about the officials and Tom Thibodeau. I'm not having it. Detroit shot what 42.3% from the field. The Knicks shot 1% better. Detroit missed 10 free throws. The Knicks go and miss 11. When you look at, points in the paint, believe it or not, the Knicks were +4. I couldn't believe that with all of the dunking that was going on whenever Karl Anthony Towns kind of came up to trap Cade or make it difficult for Cade at the level of the screen, all of the backdoor cuts and the dunks, I couldn't believe the Knicks were still +4 in the paint. Second chance points, the Knicks were +1. Fast break points, the Knicks were -1. This was this game was close, and you can argue it shouldn't have been. Like, I don't look and see one category in which Detroit just kind of blew out the Knicks. The Knicks were, I think, +4 in rebounds, right? If a team shoots the way they shot, and I think they shot 27% from three, you can't come out and be just as bad as they are in a closeout game at home. Period. Point blank. I don't want to hear about officiating, Tom Thibodeau. Oh, we should have put more bench players in. I don't want to hear any of that. It's a closeout game at home. You understand that they will be the more desperate team. And you have to match that desperation. And I get it. It's hard to simulate, desperation. But you have to match their sense of urgency and energy. And in my opinion, the Knicks did not. Like you got to come out like gangbusters in a game like this. Get out to a double-digit lead if you can, and put the pressure on Detroit to close. And at the end of the night, they made more plays than we did. Now, albeit, and we'll get into this, Jeff. Josh Hart got hurt. Brunson seems like he was hurt all game. He did not shoot well for this game. He was 4 for 16 with four turnovers. Not his best game. Appreciate the effort. Again, I don't know if I have more to say than that. You find a way to win this game at home. Jeff?
Well, I don't like to be like this because I want to be respectful of what you said, but at the same time, I don't think you can completely divorce the officiating from what happened. I mean, because if you look at it, all the things you said are true. The Knicks dominated or were better in every category that you said, and that's exactly right. But the Pistons made as many free throws as the Knicks shot, nearly. And when you consider that 3 of those fouls that got us 6 of those shots were intentional by Detroit, they hack-a-mitched twice, and he went 1 for 4, and they fouled on purpose uh, uh, they fouled Deuce on purpose on the last one. And so, the big difference in both of our losses is we're minus 24 free throws attempts. I mean, I don't, while I said that's not the reason we lost. It's certainly a mitigating factor. I don't think you can divorce the fact that there was some strange stuff in that. I mean, you had the goaltend where he went up, the ball was already on the glass and he blocked. That's clearly a goaltend. That's a missed call. That came down for an and one the other side. That's a 5-point swing. You had Mitchell Robinson get pushed into Jalen Duren for an and one, and Mitch got his, I think, fourth or fifth foul. So the main problem in this game was not the officiating, but to completely ignore it and throw it out, I don't think is fair either. I think it's fair to say that Detroit has gotten a better whistle in terms of total number of free throws shot in almost every game in this series. And in the two losses, that differential was extraordinarily high. And yes, we both missed 10 or 11 free throws, but they got 36 and we got 27. So, I'm not sure that we could completely divorce that. I don't think we could completely ignore that. Having said that, that's part of the game. You should have expected it. And
figure it out.
And well, not only figure it out, but don't let it get in your heads. Like at one point in the third quarter, Cade clearly dribbled or carried the ball, rather. He carried the ball and they didn't call it. And Jalen gets a technical foul for arguing with the ref. That's a point. That matters, right? And the Knicks are not going to win a game where their two best players shoot 9 of 30 from the field. Like you talked about Brunson struggles 4 of 16. Cat was 5 of 14. And so, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of amazing that Cat was as bad as he was. Brunson was bad as he was. And, honestly, if Josh Hart and Brunson are in the game the entire last 3 minutes, we might have pulled it out anyway. So I don't know. I don't think the Knicks are going to win very many games when Mitchell Robinson and Mikal Bridges are our two best players on the floor. And I think that you can make that argument last night. I mean, Bridges wasn't great. OG had a decent game. I'll say that, but
OG kept us in the game. I felt.
Yeah.
I thought he was 8 for 13. I thought he hit some big shots from him, and you can argue that maybe we should have went to him more. I mean, he was the only one kind of getting downhill and finishing at the rim, hitting his 3-point shots. He took 13 shots. He shot 61.5% from the field, 75% from from the 3-point line. Now, obviously, how much can you lean on him when he's guarding, Cade, Cade Cunningham? But I thought OG was really good last night. He picked his spots, and when he did, he was really good. He led
Yeah.
us in scoring last night.
Yeah, OG had a good. It was. I said. I think I misspoke. I knew it was Mitch and somebody. I think it was Mitch and OG. But McCall had a couple big buckets in the fourth quarter. I think that's
Absolutely.
what's standing out to me more than anybody else. So,
And the one
Yeah.
out the timeout that we really needed. He came out the timeout off that curl, I believe it was, and hit the 3.
But you know what strikes me too is the game was tied at 81, I think. And we had like 3 straight possessions where we could have grabbed the lead. And we were force feeding the ball to Mitch. Like McCall made that moronic 3/4 of the court pass that to Robinson. Yeah, he's behind it, but know your personnel. Like that is not a good pass. And then Brunson, OG did it. OG had the ball in the corner instead of just shooting the 3. He forced a pass into Robinson that turned into a turnover. And then we had Brunson did the same thing to try and get Robinson the ball that didn't work. And I just don't
Yeah,
understand
I
the
agree.
offensive process there. And those are three vital possessions down the stretch. I mean, you score in one or two of those, and you're fine. Again, I thought at times the Knicks were just disoriented. They were out of sorts on offense all night. Brunson was bad from a process standpoint. He was
Yes,
he
he
was
was, particularly in that third quarter. Yes, he was.
and Cat wasn't good either from that standpoint. I don't understand why we don't just spam the pick and roll with those two. Like I don't think we use it enough. But again, even when that was the play, I thought they did a poor job, and it was just frustrating to watch. I mean, especially in the third quarter, it just seems like every third quarter we do the exact same thing, whether we win the game or not. Like you
Yeah.
got to come out with urgency. You got to come out with force. That you got to come out in a closeout game. That has to be your mindset. And that's why I said this team is just not a serious team. And frankly, it doesn't matter if it goes to 6 or 7. We're not beating Boston. Like our season, like I want to get to the next round, but this team is, I don't like they should not have this series should not be 6 games. Like the talent disparity between the two teams, in my opinion, is evident. Like I don't really understand. There's been something missing about this squad most of the season, and those same things are popping up in the playoffs. And they should have closed this series out last night. And now,
Mhm.
now that's the series itself could be in doubt. You lose Game 6, and now the pressure really builds on the Knicks. And I'm not sure, is this team strong enough to handle that?
Listen, I think they are. Like, I'm not gonna fall off the deep end over the loss, just like I'm not gonna jump over the moon over, beating Detroit twice, twice in Detroit. I've seen, Boston, the Lakers, some great teams lose game 5 and come back and lose game 6. Now, am I saying the Knicks are a great team? No. But what I'm saying is it has happened. The Knicks went into Detroit and won both games. Do I think it's going to be tough? I do think it is. Do I think it's going to come back to Madison Square Garden for game 7? I absolutely think it will. And I don't think there's any guarantees, to your point, Jeff, um, in a game 7. But this team has showed that, after bad losses, they do rebound, and let's see what happens. I agree with you in terms of process. I thought Brunson on a bum ankle or leg or knee or whatever it was in the third quarter, trying to go one on one, possession after possession after possession. I'm like, yo, dude, this is not the time for that, particularly in your physical state. Run the offense. Now, were we getting a lot from the offense? Not really, but we weren't getting a lot from Brunson either. You know, run the offense. And to your point about how many times you're going to try to pass it to me, you already know what it is. Know your personnel. Like you said, if you're not hitting Mitch up top, you're not hitting him at all. And this started in the first quarter. Mitch, just for whatever reason, and I don't think it's always been like that, but his hands have just not been good,
I agree.
particularly last night. There was a rebound, somebody put a fingernail on the rebound, it popped out of his hand. And listen, I'm not Mitch was great for us last night. The Knicks had 19 bench points for the first time in this series, and Mitch had 13 of them. He had 11 rebounds, 8 of them offensive, giving us second chance opportunities. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks. So I'm not piling on Mitch, but what I am saying is his hands is not that great. You know that. You know, you even if you didn't know, you see him bumbling the ball a few times. Okay, I'm not gonna take this chance. Put it this way. So yeah, those are the 2 areas, and I'm pretty sure there were more where I didn't think the Knicks decision making um was on point. Detroit thinks they're better than the Knicks. Detroit Detroit, when they lost that game, they didn't hang their head, obviously. They came into Madison Square Garden fully believing that they can win this game. And the Knicks didn't show them anything different. And I get the officiating. I get the officiating. I just feel like you got to figure out a way. You hit some of those. Now, I get it. Most of those free throws were Mitch, right? Mitch was
3 for 7.
3 for 7. We lost by 3 points. Can Carl Anthony Towns go 4 for 4? No, sorry. Can Carl Anthony Towns go 6 for 6? Can Mikal Bridges go? My point is there was 4 points to be found in this game despite the officiating.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary at the free throw line, though, because you could play that game for the Pistons, too. I mean, I saw Thompson. I mean, they had 10 misses and we had 11. So
Yeah.
If there's anything that you could say about it, it's the disparity in attempts, which, that's the only thing that you can say there. But, the Knicks didn't come out with I always say the fouls go to the aggressor. And when you're playing aggressive, you're allowed to get away with more. And Detroit was the aggressor last night, and that's understandable. They were playing for their playoff lives, but the Knicks have to be able to match that energy, especially at home. And I knew we were in for a long night after the first 3 minutes. Like, you could just tell. Like, I think we scored 7 points in the first 5 minutes or something like that. I was like, yeah, we let them hang around and gain confidence and feed into the narrative that they belong on the same court as us. Like, and I don't think that's true. I don't think they're the better team. When Brunson is, if one or the other of Brunson or Cat has even a normal game, the Knicks win, right? They were both bad. And you can't have both of your star players no show in a closeout game. I don't. Is Thibodeau the one to blame for that? Or does the onus fall on the players? Probably a little bit of both. You can slice the blame pie any way you want to, but the fact of the matter is they didn't get it done. Same thing they did against Philly last year in Game 5. And now you've got Game 6 on the road, which we're capable of winning. We've already won 2 games in Detroit, so it's not like Detroit is some house of horrors. But the problem is now you're having to play an extra game, maybe an extra 2, and you've got Boston sitting there waiting on you, licking their chops, getting rest. And
listen, I don't even think we could think about Boston, right? The Knicks might not get out this. I believe they will. But this is what happens when you don't close in Game 5. Like you gotta be as focused as you were, as they seem to be, going into Game 3, going into Game 4, making sure that the crowd doesn't get into the game. You got to be just that focused. Now, listen, Detroit had something to do with it, right? I'm not going to just say it was all Knicks. Detroit had something to do with it. Figure it out. I understand Brunson is on a bum ankle, then become a passer. Become more of a, become more of a decoy. If your ankle is not that great, play start the offense and play off the other guys. You understand what I'm saying? I just yeah. Like I said, I don't have much to say about it. I don't want to hear about Tom Thibodeau. Like, this is what we do as a fan base. Tom Thibodeau is not the reason we lost this game. We win Game 3 and 4. Nobody talks about Tom Thibodeau. It's about the players and how the players did this and how the players did that and how the players stepped up and how clutch we were and how we made all the plays, down the stretch. We lose. Oh, it's about Tom Thibodeau. It's not about Tom Thibodeau. It's about our poor shooting, our poor execution, our poor decision making. You want to sprinkle a little of the officials in there, for sure. Do that. If you want to say, when one of the adjustments they made, and shout out to Uncle Freezy Blanche Tears for bringing this up last night on his post game show, is we've been, instead of Cat being in drop coverage, we've been bringing him up on the screens. Now, what Detroit did last night is they've been able to get when Karl Anthony Towns come up, they've been able to get the ball behind Towns. Once the ball gets behind Towns, Doran and Asor Thompson, you can say whatever you want to say about their shot making, their free throw shooting, whatever, but they're really, really good passers out of that when they get the ball in the key, in the middle of the key. And that's what happened. They were able to get the ball behind Karl Anthony Towns for dunk after dunk after dunk. Now, I'm not saying, that's why we lost the game, but what's the adjustment? Do you put Cat now back in drop? Now Cunningham could, it was just one of those things. I'm not sure what the adjustment would be, but I did think about, what can we do differently in that particular situation. I know there was concerns about, listen, Josh Hart and Brunson went out with almost 3 minutes left, 2 minutes and 57 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't get back into the game until 27 seconds. I'm not sure how long they were at the scorer's table, but Geoff, take us through Tom Thibodeau's options at that point.
Okay, well, so you're over the foul limit. So if you foul, you're giving up 2 free throws and you're already down 4 points. So that's not a great situation. You can call timeout, which is your last timeout. And then if you need to challenge, if you need to, if you need to advance the ball into the front court late in the game, you don't have that option either. Or you can trust your guys to get a stop. I mean, and what happened? I think Cade missed on the initial, and Jalen Duren gets the rebound and puts it in for an easy one, and then 4 points goes to 6. And that was your ball game. But you've got to be able to get a stop there. And frankly, without Brunson and Hart, the defense should be elite and able to get a stop. I mean, those are 2 of our weaker defensive players to begin with. So if they can't get a stop and clear the board, what are we doing here? So, yeah, I mean, if you want to kill Tom for that, I guess you can. But look, it's not great if you use your last timeout because you need that to advance the ball. In fact, we could have used one more, and crazy part is that after Deuce missed the first free throw, which is unconscionable to me, the execution on the missed free throw was good, except we didn't have anybody at the top of the key to get the ball on the tap back. I don't know where Deuce was, and I don't know if it was his responsibility, but if someone is up at the top, they get the ball and they get a chance to tie the game because the ball missed well, and the Knicks were able to tap it out. And if someone's there, they can fire the shot. But we tapped it into no man's land. I don't know whose responsibility that was, but we didn't execute. But that was the story of the entire game. We didn't execute. And I think you asked about the adjustment on the drop. I think we found the adjustment on that, and that was the double big lineup. Because when Robinson was in the game last night, we were +8. And overall, it's not like the Pistons shot a great percentage and dominated with points in the paint because they didn't. And so absolutely.
It seemed like they did, though. But you're right.
It seemed like that. But if you look at the numbers.
No, we were +4 points in the paint.
So you're going to have to give something, right? Like no defense shuts everything down. It's just not, and for, I don't know, the majority of the season, we've been complaining, we leave 3-point shooters wide open, right? That's been I haven't really seen that a ton this season. It's happened at times, we fall asleep on a rotation or whatever. So it has happened, but I haven't really seen in my opinion, most of the 3-point shots have been contested ones. And when you have a player like Cade who likes to drive, I think that he's their best player. He didn't have a great game last night. We forced him into tough shots. and frankly, I think we defended well enough to win the game. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. They shot 27.6% from three. Like the 3-point shooting was
and we didn't shoot
bad.
well from out there either. But that's not Detroit's strength. So to me, that game plan is probably correct. But again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but 9 for 30 from your two best players in a closeout game is just not acceptable. And Towns has to do a better job of demanding the ball, get more touches where he doesn't have to travel, 25 feet to get to the basket, right? Like, I think he needs to catch it inside a little bit more so he doesn't have to, and I know he has advantages out there, but I think that when you're that far away from the basket, the defense has opportunities to collapse and do other things. Whereas if you catch the ball and you're already in scoring position, I think you do better. I think you're a more versatile weapon. Not that he isn't. I mean, he hit a big 3 to tie the game in the fourth quarter too, but he also had 1 or 2 of those, hero, logo shot threes that missed. And those were, when it goes in, it's awesome and it's fun. And when it doesn't, it's a bad possession. So, and he didn't shoot the ball well last night either. And look, just because they shot the ball poorly last night doesn't mean they're going to shoot the ball poorly on Thursday. And so, if, again, I've said this since game 1, the team that's going to beat the Knicks in this series is the Knicks. And they beat themselves last night. And not, I don't mean to disrespect Detroit. Detroit's a good defensive team. They're tough. They've given us all we can handle. They're very good. I've much respect for what Bickerstaff has done with that team. That they fight you tooth and nail. They're like cockroaches. They do not die. You can stomp on them. You can do whatever. They are going to come back and with force and play hard. And they had playoff intensity last night, and they're the younger team, right? Where's our experience at? Our experience and our players should know, especially from what most of them experienced last year, blowing the game against Philadelphia. Like, this feels like deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say, had a happy ending because we won game 6 and we're capable of doing that again. But it's just frustrating that, I mean, you let an opportunity slip through your fingers there, and you did it from Jump Street, from the opening tip.
Yeah.
It was just, you could tell the requisite urgency and energy was not there.
I do want to get to the chat. Kevin Bergen, their star played lackluster, and both of ours did too. That's the game. They played more. They listen. A lot of times in the playoffs, when things are evenly matched, it comes down to who's the better closing team, which team is getting those timely stops, and which team is getting those timely shots. And last night it was Detroit. Now, again, shout out to Bridges and OG, particularly OG, for that incredible 3-point shot he took. A little, it wasn't enough for the Knicks down the stretch. And to your point, Geoff, your best players can't shoot the way they shoot at home in a closeout game and expect to win. Keith Turner, Tibbs didn't even have his team prepared to play. Like, I disagree. I think we're just overstating Tom Thibodeau. Did he have so whenever the Knicks win, Tom Thibodeau had them ready to play. We won game 3 and 4 in Detroit. That was because of Tom Thibodeau, because Tom Thibodeau had them ready to play. We lose game 5 because Tom Thibodeau didn't have them. I think we're overstating Tom Thibodeau when it comes to urgency and execution, because that's how you get leads in this game, in this league. You understand the urgency, you execute, and you make shots. And the Knicks did not do any of those 3. And to me, that is not on Tom Thibodeau. You want to talk to me about a defensive scheme, a specific scheme I'll give you some airplay. I'm not giving no airplay to, Tom Thibodeau just don't make an adjustments. No, but if you want to tell me in the third quarter at the 3-minute mark, Detroit did this and Tibbs didn't have an adjustment for it, we can have that conversation. But just this Tom Thibodeau doesn't make adjustments, no airplay. Okay? Stop over schematic stuff, rotation stuff, fine. But showing up to a game, to a closeout game at home, playing with urgency, executing, if you miss a shot, fine. But if your process is good and you miss a shot, happens to the best of them. The Knicks' decision making wasn't good last night. That's not on Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to hear that. Talk to me about schemes. We can have that conversation. But he didn't have them ready to play the game. I'm not going for that. Keith Turner again. Brunson isn't healthy at all. Yeah. Jarrell, shout out to Jarrell. That game was on the players. Tibbs can't play for them. Kevin Bergen, man, he said next game is crucial. This series shouldn't come back to MSG. Okay, I thought he was saying like it doesn't even deserve to come back to. Okay, I get you. You're right. Mitch shot 62.5% last night. Sherman, yes, he did. Andrew K. Brunson banged up, hurt in the playoffs 3 years in a row. Yeah. I am Jarrell. They decided to force feed Mitch for the first time in his career, and they did it during a playoff game. Yeah. I tell you, the Tibbs haters, boy, they can't wait to come out. It was all crickets in game 3 and game 4. And this is the same thing that happened with Randall, right? When he plays bad, everybody jumps on him. When he plays good, nobody wants to give him credit. It's just crickets. Same thing with Tom Thibodeau. We win game 3 and game 4. It's all about the players, nothing about Tom Thibodeau. As soon as we leave, all the haters come back. Oh, Tom Thibodeau should have did this shot. Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Figure out a way to win the game. Geoff, before we get out of here, what do we need to do in
I think there was a super
games?
chat, Queen.
Oh, there was. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your question, but
No. That's right. Paris Duggar, I appreciate the super chat. I feel the lack of energy was in the lack of urgency in both Cat and JB. It simply wasn't approached as a must win. JB missing most of the last 2 minutes, shaking my head. Yeah, I agree. You got to come out like game busters. And I get it. Detroit is going to push back. Like they're not going to roll over. I get it. Again, maybe there was a lack of urgency. I didn't feel the lack of urgency from the Knicks. Appreciate you, Brunson. What do we need to do in game 6 to make sure there isn't a game 7? Which is no guarantees.
Killer instinct. We need to have a killer instinct, and that's something that's not this group hasn't shown. Like even in game situations, like we'll be up 16, we let teams back in. And some of that is the league and all that stuff, but some of it is just the mental fortitude to say, okay, we're going to stay focused. But all year we've kind of been shaky as far as that's concerned. But here's the thing. If we get even close to a balanced whistle and we get a good performance from our 2 stars, we're going to win the game. Like I think if you look at both games Detroit's won, they've been massive free throw disparities in both games that weren't there in any of the other games. In the 3 games the Knicks won, the free throws were about even. If the free throw attempts are about even, I think we're in good shape. We've got to figure out like the double big lineup is excellent defensively, but I do think that it's one of the causes of our offensive woes because teams are leaving Mitch open, and that's one of the reasons why they were throwing him the ball is because he was open. But that's not the pass that you want to make. So you have to. In other words, from a basketball standpoint, it's like when when LeBron was a young man and he was in the playoffs and he had a chance to win, take the game-winning shot, and this was back when he was in Cleveland. I think it was in the Spurs series, and he passed the ball to the wide-open shooter in the corner, and the guy missed the shot, and they're like, "You're the superstar. Why didn't you take the shot?" And he was like, "Well, he was open. I trust my teammates. I made the right play from a process standpoint. Look, wide open, trust your teammates. Awesome." But then there's the other side of that coin. Like, the guy is open for a reason, right? That you're playing into the defense's hands. And this has been something that you've been stressing for probably since Mitchell Robinson got here and we've been competitive. This has been on your mind. And I don't mean to Robinson was great last night. Let's not, like, he kept us in that game in a lot of ways, and his backline defense, and he had one possession where I think he stopped Duran at the rim twice. So just like his presence in the paint is critical at certain junctures, and so I'm glad that Tom is utilizing him more. But I think in utilizing him more, we've got to get more shooters on the floor. And I'm not sure, and you may disagree with this, but I'm not sure if maybe we don't need to see a 2-point guard look when we have our two bigs in the game, because I think Brunson is having to work so hard. They are picking him up full court the entire game. Let's get him out there with Campaign. Let's have him too. So then you can have Campaign, bring up the ball, let Brunson play a little bit of off guard. You don't have to do it for the whole game. I'm not saying for 48 minutes, but give it a look. Give it some time. Give him something different. And I think that may be something. And man, it'd be nice if we could get the Deuce who could hit a 3-pointer back. Like, we have not gotten anything out of McBride in this series, in my opinion. It's been very disappointing. And he's had his moments defensively, but just in terms of shot making and remember when we had RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, and the moment just seemed too big for them when we got to the postseason? I really get those vibes from Deuce for some reason. I don't know what it is, and it's tough because we don't have a lot of bench depth. I mean, the other guy is Landry Shamet. I don't know, but I think he had a migraine last night. I'm not sure. You can complain about role players all you want. If our stars step to the forefront and do their job and play the way they're supposed to, then the Knicks are going to walk away from Pizza Planet with the win.
Pizza Planet. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It all starts with urgency, taking the crowd out the game. Like, you cannot, and Detroit is going to have something to say about that. They know they didn't get off to great starts in game 3 and in game 4. I anticipate them turning it up, playing with a lot of urgency. The Knicks can't go down 12, 15 points in the first quarter. We said this the same in game going into Detroit in game 3 and 4. You just cannot get down big. Not that they can't come back. It just takes a lot of energy to get back into the game. You definitely want to take their crowd out of the game. You want this to be a close game coming down the stretch. And hopefully the Knicks this time will be the one to, again, get the timely shots and get the timely stops. To your point, Cat and Brunson have to play better. Point blank, full stop. Like I'm not saying you can't win if they have another performance like this, but everybody else would have to step up big time, right? We need both, preferably, but at least one of those guys to have a really good game. I think as far as Mitchell Robinson is concerned, I think Tibs is playing it right, because there are some games where Mitchell Robinson just doesn't have it and the energy is not there. But last night was not one of those games. So I think when it comes to Robinson, you just have to read, what he's giving you, and then give him minutes, based on that. And like you said, you can't be force feeding Mitchell Robinson. Like, come on, like understand what it is. He's open for a reason. Um, and if we can get anything, from the bench, Campaign hasn't looked great in his minutes. Deuce, I know you talked about the shooting, but if you look closely, his defense hasn't been that great anyway, either, particularly when it comes to Schroeder. Like Schroeder, blowing by him, you know? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Ajay said this as well. You know, I know you said that the lights are too bright. Ajay said he looked shook. I don't know. He's super confident. He's putting out the energy, he's putting out the effort. We're just not getting the results. And his defensive process, like you watch him on the defensive end, going for fakes, I'm like, come on, dude. Like that's not Deuce. You know, that's not, I guess maybe that's what y'all mean about the lights being too bright, right? Doing things that you don't usually do, hopefully he'll come through. But I'll say this: this is another closeout game for the Knicks. Usually, it it it's I get the officiating can have a impact on the game. Defensive schemes, offensive schemes, player execute, all of that. But at some point, it's like football. At some point, it's just 4th and 1, and both teams have their guys in the trenches. Who's going to win? That's it. It's going to come down to somebody making a really good play, somebody making a really good stop. Like that's what it's going to come down to. Like that's playoff basketball. You know, throw schemes out the window, throw the officiating out the window. Not literally. I get it. It does impact the game, but the what impacts the game the most is the player's heart and execution and coming up big in the big moments. And the team that comes up big in the big moments in game 6 is the team that is going to win the game. That's it. It's not going to be about the stats. Who came up big in the big moments? That's going to tell the story for us. And man, I didn't want to go back to Detroit. I just did not want to go back to Detroit. Um, Silk Sutton said, Queen, him being a new father might be messing with Deuce energy.
Might be.
And listen, well, yeah, figure it out. Figure it out. You know, he became a father during the playoffs? Yeah,
I didn't
I
even
don't
know
know.
that was a
Yeah,
situation. So don't want
yeah.
to speculate
I
on
didn't
it.
even know it was. I mean, listen. Anyway. Um, Any last words? Shout out to the chat, Keith Turner, Lady in the Chef, appreciate you. Andrew K, Kevin Bergen, Latif Supreme. Not sure if this is your first time here. If it is, welcome. If not, welcome back. East Blue Drew. Banging Aces live and direct. Love that name. Appreciate you joining us as well. Paris Duggar, always in the building, supporting. I appreciate you. John Bryce, I appreciate you. DKEJ21. Randu 1973, New York S3. I appreciate you all rocking with us this morning. Sherwin, Wonder Woman. I appreciate you as well. Any last words?
Yeah, I think that what was I going to say? The other thing that I kind of wonder about with this team is we really could use somebody with some dribble penetration skills off that bench. Like we struggle to get to the ball and get advantage if it's not Jalen Brunson. Like we don't have anybody else on the team that can do that. And when he's not doing that effectively, like last night, you can just the offense is what it is. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's fixable the way it is now. Maybe it's more shots for Bridges because he can kind of do that, but not really. I don't know. It seems to be a fatal flaw in this construction of the roster right now. We'll see if they can overcome it
Right.
this time. And we're having a show tonight, right, Queen?
Yeah, we're gonna have a show tonight because we were hoping we would have the show tomorrow because the Knicks would have closed it out, right? So the Knicks play Thursday, so we're gonna have our weekly show tonight at 9 o'clock where we'll break all of this down. Hopefully, Jarrell and Ajay could join us. I think Delusional said he might be in the building tonight, so that would be nice. I miss him as well. Shout out to Keith Turner. He said now we blaming it on Deuce's kids now. His kid now. Oh
But we
man.
lost Wiz as a
Um,
listener forever with this show. I know Wiz is going to be boycotting us. He's going to be giving the thumbs down, and he may come to my house and beat me up. I don't know. It's a long way from California to Texas, but I'm on his list. I know.
yeah, shout out to Paris Duggar. This Knicks team isn't a winning 5 team. We're okay. And Brunson hurt yeah, Brunson is listen, it wasn't until somewhere in the third quarter, and maybe you guys picked it up right away when I was like, okay, Brunson is hurt. It took me a minute. It took me a minute because he looked okay. It took me a minute. And then once he hurt the ankle again, I was like, oh boy, all right, Brunson, Brunson is hurt. Um, anyway, my last words is go into Little Caesars Arena, or what do you call it? Pizza Plaza,
Pizza Planet.
Palace, Pizza Planet, and handle your business. Forget about the officiating. Come out with a win. Hook or crook, however you got to do it. Make the plays down the stretch. First, start with urgency so you're not in a hole. And you be the team to make the plays down the stretch. Bottom line, Cat, Brunson, you got to show up. You have to show up in terms of counting stats and in terms of how you process the game. All right. I appreciate you, Chad. I appreciate the replay gang. I appreciate those listening on Twitter, those listening who can't leave a comment in the chat, those going to work, listening to us on the radio, on the phone, however you do it, streaming. I appreciate you all. Until tonight.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope soul.
Where you at? Where you at?